I can't believe this is the third week. I mean, I feel like I've been doing this whole Q&A thing for a while, you know. To be honest, I'm a little sick, a little under the weather, but I still push through, you know. The doctors hit me up. They were like, you know, Jack, don't do the video. This will require too much physical strength. I'm going to die doing this video. Comment down below if you guys want to ask more questions for next week. So without further ado, let's get into it. Of course, as always, if you guys want to use Audible, you guys want an Audible free trial, please hit the link in the description or use audibletrial.com/JackWalter. Click that into your little search button and you'll get 30 days free off Audible. First question, which comes from predictions on Ngannou Jones. Do we have a problem fighters overstaying because of their name? Tony, Anderson Silva, to a certain extent, Sam Alvey. You know, obviously, if we're talking skill for skill, Jon Jones takes it all the way because Jon Jones is better cardio, the better wrestling, better technical striking. See Jon Jones winning. I think Jon Jones is just one of those guys you can't doubt. He is the greatest of all time, in my opinion. I think he out-wrestles Ngannou, tires Ngannou out, Ngannou's power fades, and then Jon Jones picks him apart and finishes him either by sub or knockout. Do we have a problem with fighters overstaying because of their name? Of course, this is an issue. It's kind of tricky, especially with Anderson Silva. I mean, Anderson has contributed so much to the sport that it's hard to say, all right, if you're the UFC, it's hard to say, okay, you're cut. But at the same time, you have to realize it is for their health. I don't think Tony is yet in that conversation of like, okay, this guy needs to retire. You know, I'm not saying that he's going to be a champion. Let's put him up against a Bobby Greens or a few of those guys and see how he does there. I mean, if you look at the Michael Chandler fight, he was doing good in that first round there yet. But yeah, someone like Anderson Silva was on like a 9-fight losing streak. Sam Alvey too. It's difficult because at the same time it is a business and you want to, but at the same time, it's like, when is fighter health going to be an issue? And if you're the UFC, who's to say you cut Anderson and Anderson doesn't just go to Bellator and do the same thing? You're not really stopping it. And I guess really the only thing that could stop it is like an athletic commission, you know, suspending you after maybe so many knockouts. You know, that wouldn't be necessarily so bad. There's gonna have to be a state thing to interfere because these businesses like, you know, Bellator, UFC, they're not going to let go of pay-per-view stars like that. I have some questions for you here. Here's the chances you see this are low, but hey, here it goes. I don't got the biggest fan base, so don't think that I won't see this. You know, I see a lot of comments. What do you think of Roberto Soldic? I think he could beat everyone at welterweight right now. What do you think of Yaroslav Amosov? Don't think he can be a UFC champ right now, but 26-0 at like 30 years old. What are some dark horses you can see becoming a champion in the future? I'm gonna be honest, for the first few questions, like I said this in my last Q&A, I don't really follow MMA organizations much outside of UFC, just because like I know I'll be obsessed with it. Like, it's literally a problem that I have, is like to get out in the world, you know, and spend a Saturday night not just sitting down watching a fight. You know, I don't think Roberto beats everybody at welterweight right now. Let's calm down there, first of all. And you have guys like Usman, Khamzat. For that, I don't want to give too much of an assessment on it because yes, I've seen them fight. I probably can't even name an opponent that they fought. What are some dark horse fighters you could see becoming champions in the UFC? Like I said, a lot of good ones on your list. Terrence McKinney at lightweight. To follow up on weight cutting, devil's advocate is that the rules are the same for everyone. Fighters pretty much know what weight their opponent will walk into the ring with. At the end of the day, I'm just not a fan of these fighters dehydrating the shit out of themselves. But for a sport that's transcending into the mainstream, there's got to be a better way. I do disagree with you saying like fighters don't always know what their opponent's going to weigh in at. I mean, Usman, who's to say what Leon or Usman weighs in at, right? I would assume that Usman weighs a lot heavier than Leon entering the octagon. We don't know. Could be 20 pounds, 30 pounds. I mean, people are crazy with this weight cut. Like I said in the last Q&A, you know, cardio gets affected, your chin gets affected, a lot of things get affected. Thoughts on Mighty Mouse's comments on Joe Rogan's podcast in regards to his pay and the difference between the pay to one and UFC. I did see this clip. So he was saying, I remember that one thing that I thought was interesting was that he was saying that the UFC would lower his pay even though he won, depending on the name. And I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, sometimes bigger names are, you know, you're going to get more money for bigger names, obviously. And what are your dream matchups for 2023? Jon Jones, Francis Ngannou, number one. Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. How far do you think Corey Sandhagen will go? Will he be a champion, gatekeeper, or prize fighter? Corey, I'm going to answer this right away. Champion. I think Corey will be a champion. Guy has shown that he is able to improve, and that's the number one thing that I look for in future champions. These are the holes in his game. He saw, okay, I got submitted by Aljo. Let me work on my jiu-jitsu. His jiu-jitsu in the ground game got a lot better. After that, with the striking, he's like, okay, I got to mix it up. And then you see in his last fight with Song Yadong, he's mixing in takedowns. Just right now, the politics of it is just difficult. Natural weight belt here. If no extreme weight cutting could be done, I think it's a really interesting idea. When you look at Costa, Khamzat, Chandler, Dustin, and Sterling, definitely benefiting from the rules. I wouldn't put Dustin in, I don't think Sterling walks around too heavy. Like I said in my last video, I really don't have necessarily a problem with the weight cutting. I have a problem though with cases like Khamzat or Costa, they miss weight, and then that's the problem for me. An interesting idea. Will it happen? I don't think so. It's just, like I said, it's risky because I feel like fighters will try to find a way to still dehydrate themselves the day of, and that's just extremely dangerous. So I thought Khamzat was gonna fight Cody Cunningham. What happened with that fight? Obviously, I think you're talking about Colby Covington. Colby Covington was supposed to fight Khamzat. Yes, there was talks of him having a fight on 286 in London with Leon. It was supposed to be the co-main event or something like that. Now there's talks of Khamzat fighting in 285. I don't think that fight's gonna happen. The thing about Colby is Colby picks safe fights. I don't mean to say he's afraid. Let's be real, it's not a safe fight. It's not a certain fight. He's a smart guy in how he picks who he fights. With the whole trial, the trial is at the end of February. It's not gonna be done. I don't think he's gonna be ready early March. Inquiring minds need to know the estimate percentage of athletes that are participating in the UFC or MMA in general, less focused on becoming champion, but rather satisfying their manly needs. A serious question, and I am not judging anyone for anything. So I'm gonna be real, I had to read this question like 5 times. I was so confused. Interpreted, now please comment if I'm wrong. I interpreted as like kind of like toxic masculinity in MMA. People fight in MMA for championships, or do they fight to be like praised? That is an interesting topic if that's what you mean. And yes, I think that there's a lot of people, of course, like I think naturally people have this like idealization of they want to be the top, they want to beat this guy, that they want everyone to know that they're the best, you know, and that's what it is, a lot of it, and that's what feeds a lot of them. And that's the thing is like people, the thing that's interesting is like with loss, right? When they lose, they're not upset that they lost, that they'd hurt, and they're not upset about the knockout. They're upset that people saw them lose. And it'd be interesting to see like a study between like MMA women fighters and men fighters, if you want to talk about that. I think that would be the way to go, try to figure out their mindset opposed to male mindset. What are the next 3 moves for Paddy? Drop the featherweight. His power doesn't translate. He was hitting Gordon with shots. Gordon didn't even look phased. And you're going to be in the same weight class as Michael Chandler and Dustin Porter. That's fucking crazy. Get some sort of boxing, striking coach. Teach him technically what to do. I mean, his ground game is solid. I think just, like working on the defense, be a heel. People are into this bad Paddy persona. More people are talking about him now than they were. Do you think the UFC has squeezed everything they could out of Max Holloway? Or do you think that there's more juice to be squeezed? I think 100% that there's more juice to be squeezed. He lost to Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, he's pound for pound number 1. Are we gonna just, let him loose? Always a guy that I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC traded, because what else do you do with Max? Not saying that Max's career is over, but Max is in one of those states that he has lost to the number 1 guy, and he's beating everyone else. So what do you do? Who are you gonna match him up with? He isn't a guy that you could use to give another guy a title shot. He isn't a guy that's going to beat the champion, so he's in a difficult spot. I think the move for him is to go to lightweight. 10 out of 10 matchmaking right here. Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje. Who is your favorite fighter? Kevin Holland, Wonderboy, Anderson Silva, Conor McGregor. Who doesn't like Conor? If you don't like Conor, you're just lying to yourself. I like Gilbert Burns. Will Charles go back on a win streak? Oh, how did I not mention Charles? I was just about to say so. Yeah, Charles Oliveira is definitely one of my favorite fighters. I would say either Holland, Olivera, McGregor. But it's no secret that I'm a big Olivera fan. I feel like it's like a meme on the channel at this point, that I can't handle this Islam. You cannot accept the result. Love Charles Oliveira. Can he go back on a win streak? I mean, he was doing pretty well. I mean, he lost to Islam. I mean, I think Islam's just a bad stylistic matchup for him. I saw someone post on Twitter that they rewatched the fight and that Oliveira had his moments, so maybe I'll rewatch it and face my trauma. I think him versus McGregor would be a good fight. I wouldn't mind that. Can he go back on a win streak though? I think he could definitely go back on a win streak. Question: if Islam beats Volk, who do you think is up next? Beneil, Oliveira, Dustin, maybe Fiziev? I think Beneil. You gotta give it to Beneil. Maybe you do Dustin versus Beneil. I don't think Dustin is interested in that fight though. Beneil is just too dangerous for too low of name value for Dustin. I don't think Fiziev's there yet. Oliveira, I think Olivera at this point needs another win. Maybe do Olivera versus Beneil. Be put on the Perth card. I would say probably put on that Vegas card, and then the winner will fight the winner of Islam Volk, which I think will be Islam. All right, here's the question: as a professional fighter in the future, plan is spar less and fight more, like a fight every 3 months, while having all-out sparring only every 1 or 2 months. What's your opinion on that? Any advice or suggestions that I might not have heard of? This is an issue. I mean, I think more people are coming to light to this. I feel like back in the day, people were just wailing on each other and sparring, going full force, but that's not the way to go. You know, you have to go light. You know, whenever I do like any sparring or anything like that, it's always like light. It's nothing like I'm taking someone's head off. It's harder, especially if you're like a pressure fighter like Justin Gaethje sparring, because obviously if you're going to go light, people aren't going to respect that pressure because they're not respecting the power. You know, and people love to spar, people love to fight, you know, and I think it's essential because you can't just go in there without sparring. I think you got to find that balance. I think you definitely do it very light. Maybe some touch sparring, you know, just touching up, you know, here and there. Work on the head movement, work on the slipping, you know, work on drills especially. And I think that's definitely the way to go. I mean, Max Holloway doesn't do sparring anymore. I think that's the way to go. I mean, it's good for fighter health. You can't be getting concussions and sparring. So, last question. Much love from Guyana, my man. Yeah, I love seeing these comments from different countries. I love seeing it. Just want to know, what are your thoughts on this weekend's Bellator MMA versus Rizin FC? This is definitely something that caught my attention. You know, I think cross-promoting, I mentioned it in my last video, my last Q&A last week, definitely is beneficial for companies like Bellator or One, but it's risky because, you know, obviously Bellator, if AJ McKee loses to one of the Rizin guys, that's bad. I mean, AJ McKee is definitely one of the top, and if Pitbull loses too, I mean, that's an L, because Pitbull beat AJ also beat Pitbull. They got some sort of rivalry going, definitely the top of their division. That would be definitely tough pill to swallow on their end. So it's definitely risky. Definitely going to be watching though. There's nothing else on. I'm definitely going to be watching. Definitely, I've been excited about it for a while now. I think it's an interesting card. I think it's an interesting idea to cross promote, and I'm excited. And you got to respect that these promotions are putting it on the line like this for the fans. So I definitely want to support. And yeah, that's going to wrap up this week's Q&A, the third Q&A. I feel like I've been doing this forever, but it's only the third Q&A. Comment below any questions you got, and I'll see you guys in the next one.